The breaking of the accord. The grand hall of the Galactic Council shimmered with refracted starlight. Thousands of alien delegates filled the amphitheater-like chamber, their translucent skin, metallic scales, and luminous tendrils reflecting the glow of Kalira Prime's twin suns. At the very center stood a single human, Ambassador Elara Vance of Earth, dwarfed by the splendor around her, but unbowed. The session had begun as a discussion about human expansion along the outer rim. But Elara could already feel the hostility in the air. The alien species surrounding her weren't here to discuss. They were here to accuse. From the high dais, Speaker Zarthol of the Lutheri, a crystalline being whose body refracted light like a diamond storm, raised a spindly arm. Ambassador Vance, his voice resonated through the hall, humanity has violated the expansion accords. You've colonized 4 new systems without authorization, deployed autonomous constructs, and interfered in restricted trade lanes. How do you plead? Elara met his gaze calmly. The systems we colonized were uninhabited. The constructs were humanitarian drones. We have violated no law. A low murmur rippled through the assembly, the unsettling buzz of 1,000 alien tongues whispering dissent. Humanitarian drones, Zarthol repeated, the words dripping with disdain. Your kind has always cloaked aggression beneath compassion. You bring your machines wherever you go. And yet, we know your history, your wars, your weapons. Elara straightened, her voice steady. Our history is one of survival. We have evolved beyond war. That statement brought laughter, harsh, metallic, and bitter. From the balcony, a Threxian admiral leaned forward, claws tapping the railing. Evolved? You hide fleets behind your moons, weaponize planets, and speak of peace. Tell us, human, what does peace mean when you stand armed? Elara's jaw tightened. Peace means restraint. Something this council seems to have forgotten. The hall fell into uneasy silence. Even Speaker Zarthol seemed momentarily still, his crystalline surface dimming. Then, without ceremony, he lifted a glowing tablet. The council has deliberated. By unanimous decree, the species known as Homo sapiens are hereby sanctioned. All trade, transport, and military operations under human jurisdiction are suspended effective immediately. Violation will be treated as an act of war. Elara froze. Unanimous, she whispered. Even the Dravians? The Hellari? A dozen alien eyes turned away in guilt. The decision was already made long before the meeting began. Ambassador Vance, Zarthol continued, your expansion threatens balance. Your innovation destabilizes equilibrium. You will comply, or face removal from this council. For a moment, the chamber's vastness pressed down on her, the cold enormity of betrayal. She thought of the colonies on Vega 9, the families under the silver skies of Europa Prime, the fleets standing idle under peace treaties humanity had honored for over a century. Elara bowed her head slightly. If this is your final decision, she said quietly, then I will deliver it to my people. As she turned to leave, Zarthol's crystalline voice echoed behind her. We regret it has come to this. But humanity has forgotten humility. Outside the council hall, Elara's personal communicator flickered to life. Admiral Marcus Kane appeared, grizzled, broad-shouldered, his face lit by the dim glow of tactical screens. They've done it, haven't they? He asked flatly. Elara nodded. Sanctions. And worse, authorization for enforcement. Kane exhaled sharply. Then it's war. They just don't know it yet. Elara's tone sharpened. Marcus don't. But he was already giving orders off-screen. Activate the Aegis Protocol. Quietly. All outer colonies go dark. No comms, no signals. If the Council wants silence, we'll give them silence. She hesitated. You're bringing Aegis online? That system hasn't been used in 100 years. I know. His eyes hardened. We built it when we first joined the Council. Just in case they ever forgot who we were. The transmission ended. Elara stood in the cold corridor, stars swirling beyond the transparent walls. Around her, alien envoys celebrated the vote, to them, a diplomatic triumph. To her, it was the sound of history turning. For decades, humanity had chosen diplomacy over dominance, peace over pride. They had shared technology, medicine, and art with a galaxy that had once feared them. Now that same galaxy had declared them the threat. And somewhere deep in the silence of space, the hidden sentinels of Earth stirred awake, machines built not for conquest, but for deterrence. They blinked to life, ancient systems humming softly like the heartbeat of a slumbering titan. Elara gazed into the void and whispered, almost to herself, "They think we're dangerous now, but they have no idea what mercy has cost us." Fire over Earth. The darkness above Earth rippled like a wound in the stars. Thousands of alien warships emerged from hyperspace, their hulls burning with the blue light of jump drive re-entry. It was a sight no human had seen in generations, a fleet so vast it eclipsed the moon itself. From his command deck aboard the TDF Resolute, Admiral Marcus Kane watched the readings flicker across the holodisplay. Thousands of red markers. Thousands of enemy vessels. His jaw tightened. "So it begins," he murmured. His officers worked silently. The air was heavy, every breath measured. Humanity had not fought a war in a century, not since the unification era, yet every one of them had trained for this possibility. Kane had known it would come one day. He just hadn't expected it to come so soon. "Council fleets confirmed," reported Lieutenant Soren. "Primary vanguard composed of Lutheri and Threxian destroyers. Secondary support, Dravian carriers. They formed an orbital assault ring over Mars." Kane's voice was steady. "And Earth. Shields nominal. Aegis systems are live across all sectors. We're invisible to their sensors." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Good. Let's keep it that way." For months, Kane had overseen the quiet activation of Project Aegis, a planetary defense network buried beneath the crusts of Earth, Luna, and Mars. It was not a weapon in the traditional sense, but a web of cloaked satellites and nanofield generators designed to scramble detection systems and render human worlds nearly invisible to scans. The Council thought they were attacking a sleeping species. They were about to learn otherwise. The first wave of Council ships began to descend, firing plasma bolts into the upper atmosphere. The night sky lit up like lightning. Civilian broadcasts across Earth went dark as the global defense grid sealed itself off from the wider network. From orbit, Kane watched the carnage unfold. Dozens of alien ships unleashed energy bursts that rained down on what they believed to be human cities. But every strike passed harmlessly through holographic projections, decoys emitted by Aegis satellites. The aliens were bombing empty coordinates, chasing ghosts. "Admiral," Lieutenant Soren said, eyes wide, "they're confused. Their targeting arrays can't lock. They think we've evacuated." Kane leaned forward. "Then let's keep them guessing." He tapped a single control on his armrest. Across the dark side of the moon, hidden silos opened. From them rose hundreds of sleek, black drones, Sentinel-class AI interceptors, silent as death. They accelerated toward the enemy at a speed that defied physics. When the first Council ship exploded, the entire fleet faltered. The blast was clean, surgical, no radiation, no debris. Just sudden annihilation. From the command bridge, Kane watched calmly. "Engage pattern Sigma-3. Target propulsion cores. No biological casualties unless necessary." The drones obeyed without emotion. Within minutes, entire squadrons of alien ships were rendered immobile, engines dead, weapons offline, drifting helplessly in orbit. In the Galactic Council's own transmission networks, chaos spread. Commanders screamed for explanations, for data. None came. On Earth's surface, the people watched the skies burn. Yet there was no fear, only a grim unity, the quiet pride of a species that had always survived the impossible. Far above them, Elara Vance stood aboard the diplomatic cruiser Aurora's Edge, locked in communication with the Council's emergency channel. "Stop this madness!" she shouted into the void. "Your fleets are being neutralized, not destroyed. We don't want this war." The only response was static, then a cold voice. "You have hidden weapons forbidden by interstellar law. This is your judgment." Elara slammed her fist against the console. "Judgment? We showed you mercy 100 years ago. You just never learned." On the Resolute, Admiral Kane turned to his communications officer. "Send to all human fleets. Prepare fallback to Saturn. We'll draw them in deeper." "Sir," Soren said, That's the Helix trap. You can't be serious. Kane's tone was like steel. I'm deadly serious. They want to fight. Let's show them the fight we've avoided for a century. Moments later, the fleet vanished into the rings of Saturn, their energy signatures scattering across 1,000 fragments of ice and rock. The Council Armada followed blindly, their sensors crippled by interference. Then it began, the Helix maneuver, a gravitational slingshot tactic once considered impossible. Massive asteroids were pulled into precise trajectories, accelerated by electromagnetic fields, and launched at near-light velocity. One by one, alien capital ships vanished in bursts of blinding light. The fleet that had come to humble humanity found itself shattered by the very laws of physics they thought they understood. As the battle raged, Kane stood motionless, watching the devastation unfold. He didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He whispered, almost to himself, "We warned them what would happen if they came for us. We never wanted this." Behind him, the stars burned brighter, reflecting in his eyes like distant flames. The humans had not fought with hatred. They had fought with precision, with control, and with restraint. But to the rest of the galaxy, it would look like something else entirely, vengeance. And somewhere, deep in Council space, Speaker Zarthol watched the reports pour in, his crystalline form trembling as he whispered to his advisors. They've been holding back all this time. The truth of mercy. The war had gone silent. Across human space, the wreckage of alien ships drifted in cold orbits, ghostly reminders of the Council's failed invasion. Yet despite the overwhelming victory, Earth was not celebrating. The air was thick with unease. Humanity had shown the galaxy what it could do, and that revelation carried a heavy weight. Ambassador Elara Vance stood in the underground corridors beneath the Antarctic ice, the entrance to the Vault of Scribes, a place she had only heard about in whispers. Few even knew it existed. It was here that the oldest records of Earth's interstellar contact were kept, sealed under layers of security older than the Galactic Council itself. Her escort, a quiet intelligence officer named Commander Rhys Hale, keyed in a sequence on a wall panel. The door opened with a hiss of frost. Inside, dim blue lights illuminated endless shelves of ancient data cores. "What you're about to see," Rhys said, "was classified before either of us was born. The truth about the First War." Elara frowned. There was no war. Humanity's first contact with the Council was diplomatic. Rhys said nothing. He placed a core into the reader. The holographic feed flickered to life, grainy, old footage recorded in the pale tone of early star exploration. A human admiral appeared, stern-faced, his uniform scorched. Behind him, a fleet hung over a devastated alien world. "This is Admiral Victor Kane, commander of the Sol Defense Armada," the log began. "We are ceasing hostilities as of this moment. The enemy has surrendered." Elara felt her chest tighten. "The name Kane." The hologram continued, the Admiral's voice steady but heavy with grief. "They attacked Earth without provocation. We could have erased them from the stars. But we will not. They are sentient, and they are broken. We will rebuild what we have destroyed, and we will remember this mercy." The feed ended. Elara stared at the frozen screen. "They attacked us first." Rhys nodded. "Before the Council existed, before we joined them, humanity faced the combined fleets of the Lutheri, the Dravians, and the Threxians. They feared our AI evolution, said it would spread like a virus. They came to wipe us out. And we spared them," Elara whispered. "We rebuilt them." Rhys lowered his gaze. "Yes." Admiral Victor Kane ordered full reconstruction of their worlds. He turned enemies into allies. Decades later, those same species founded the Council and invited us in. They just never told anyone what really happened. Elara's hands trembled as she realized the enormity of it. All this time, the Council that preaches peace was born out of our mercy. Above them, in orbit around Saturn, Admiral Marcus Kane, descendant of Victor, stood before the starfield, his reflection mirrored in the glass. The reports lay before him, enemy fleets retreating. Thousands disabled. No human casualties. His officers celebrated quietly, but Marcus felt only exhaustion. He had seen too much death already, even when he'd tried to avoid it. Elara's face appeared on the comms display. "Marcus, I found something. You need to see it. He studied her for a moment. I already know. You knew, she demanded. You knew they attacked Earth before? Kane nodded slowly. It's been passed down through every generation of command. We were told to keep it buried, to maintain peace. But peace built on lies doesn't last. Her voice softened. Then let's not repeat it. The Council's terrified now. They think we're monsters. If we strike again, it's over, not just for them, but for us. Kane turned to the window. Beyond the glass, the scattered debris of the Council fleet glittered like dying stars. You think they'll ever forgive us? Elara hesitated. Maybe not. But they need to understand why we restrained ourselves for so long. He exhaled, heavy with conflict. And how do we teach them that? By showing them what mercy truly looks like, she said. A long silence followed. Then, slowly, Kane nodded. You want to end this your way? Fine. But understand this. If they come again, there will be no mercy left to give. Back on Earth, Elara began transmitting a message to the entire galaxy. Not a threat, not a demand, but a truth. The broadcast was unencrypted, carried on every frequency across every known world. This is Ambassador Elara Vance of Earth, her voice echoed across the void. You see us now as conquerors, as a danger. But you do not know the full story. Humanity has never sought war. We defended ourselves once, long before this council existed, and when victory was ours, we chose to rebuild you. That choice was mercy. And it still is. In the war rooms of alien empires, in the shattered command ships of retreating fleets, her message played over and over. Remember this, our strength is not in what we destroy, but in what we choose to spare. As the message faded into static, Admiral Kane's fleet held position, weapons powered down, shields still glowing softly like halos around the human ships. For the first time since the war began, there was quiet. But in that quiet, the galaxy began to tremble, not from fear of human power, but from the realization of what humanity truly was. Merciful, relentless, and impossibly patient. The mercy paradox. The war ended, but the stars did not feel peaceful. Where the Galactic Council once stood as a monument of order, there was now silence, fleets shattered, alliances broken, and worlds uncertain. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. It had merely stopped holding back. In orbit above the ruins of the Council capital on Kalira Prime, Admiral Marcus Kane watched as emergency transmissions flooded the network. Entire sectors were in disarray. Some worlds begged for peace. Others demanded vengeance. His command ship, the TDF Resolute, drifted quietly among the wreckage. Engines idle. Weapons cold. They had won every battle, yet it felt hollow. Kane stood before the viewport, the twin suns of Kalira reflected in his eyes. We didn't destroy them, he murmured. But we broke their illusion of control. Behind him, Ambassador Elara Vance entered the bridge. She looked exhausted, her voice hoarse from endless negotiations. They're calling for talks, she said. What's left of them, anyway? Kane didn't turn. Talks? After everything they've done? Yes, she said firmly. Because the alternative is extinction, theirs and ours. They've finally realized we could have wiped them out. And we didn't. For a long moment, Kane said nothing. The silence between them was heavy, filled with everything unspoken. He had seen too many of his ancestors' mistakes repeat themselves. Power misunderstood, mercy mistaken for weakness. Do you ever wonder, Elara said softly, if we went too far? If showing restraint means anything when the galaxy only understands fear? Kane finally turned to face her. His expression was weary, not angry. Restraint isn't about what they understand. It's about what we choose to be. Outside the ship, the debris of 1,000 alien vessels floated like frozen tears in the void. None of the wrecks showed signs of burning. The energy pulses that had disabled them were designed to disarm, not destroy. Every being aboard those ships lived. That was humanity's final act of defiance. Mercy through precision. Elara stepped closer to the console. Then it's time they see it for what it is. 3 days later, the remnants of the Galactic Council convened on a neutral station, a meeting that history would remember as the Concord of Aegis. Delegates from 22 surviving species gathered in cautious silence. No longer did they look upon humanity with arrogance. Now they looked with awe and fear. Elara stood at the center of the assembly, her voice calm but unyielding. You declared war on us, believing we were dangerous. You were right. But you never understood why we are dangerous. The chamber was deathly still. We are not powerful because of our weapons, she continued. We are powerful because of our will. For centuries, we've chosen peace when war was easier. We've chosen mercy when vengeance was justified. That choice has cost us more than you will ever know. Across the table, the crystalline speaker Zarthol, fractured, his body dulled from the destruction of his homeworld, spoke for the first time. You claim mercy, yet your fleets silenced half our armada. You crippled our empire. Elara's gaze was sharp. You attacked us. We could have ended you. We chose not to. A long pause followed. Zarthol's voice cracked like splintered glass. Why? Elara stepped forward. Because once, long ago, you attacked us before, and we showed mercy then too. Humanity rebuilt your worlds, gave your people medicine, food, and peace. And in return, you built this council. But you built it on fear of us, not trust. Whispers rippled through the delegates. The truth was undeniable now. The old records had been revealed galaxy-wide. Every being in that chamber knew the history they had been taught was a lie. Elara continued, her tone resolute. This galaxy doesn't need rulers. It needs understanding. The council has fallen, but we can build something new. Not a throne. A balance. The assembly was silent. Then, one by one, the delegates bowed their heads. For the first time, not in submission, but in respect. Later, aboard the Resolute, Kane watched the live broadcast of Elara's speech. The galaxy was already calling it the Mercy Declaration. He leaned back, letting out a long breath. You did it, he said quietly as Elara entered the bridge. You made them listen. She smiled faintly. You gave them a reason to. He nodded toward the stars. They'll never forget what we could have done. Good, she said. They shouldn't. Mercy isn't weakness, it's strength restrained. They need to understand that. The two stood in silence, watching the twin suns rise over Kalira Prime. Below, the surviving cities flickered to life, lights returning, hope rekindled. Kane turned to leave, but paused at the doorway. You know, he said, when they declared war, I thought we'd lose everything. But maybe this was what we needed, to remind the galaxy what kind of species we are. Elara looked out the window, her reflection mingling with the stars. We are the species that remembers mercy, even when no one else does. As the Resolute began its slow journey home, a final transmission echoed through every channel, a message recorded by Elara, now archived forever in the galactic database. To all who hear this, know that humanity did not win this war. We simply refused to lose what made us human. Mercy is not the absence of strength. It is the mastery of it. And though you feared our power, it was our mercy that saved you. The transmission ended. In the quiet void beyond, the stars shimmered, no longer witnesses to war, but to something rarer, the rebirth of understanding. Humanity had shown the galaxy its greatest weapon was not destruction. It was compassion, sharpened by resolve. And as the light of Earth reached the edges of the cosmos, a new truth spread among the stars. They had declared war on humanity, not realizing mercy was the deadliest power of all.